everybody. This is Rich Hanlin with Mortgage Ballers, and today I have Jennifer Clemens. Jennifer, thanks so much for coming on to talk with me. This is going to be a great interview because Jennifer not only is from the industry, she came for a little bit and then she left and actually came back because believe it or not, people actually do that. Not everybody loves every single platform right out of the chute, but hey, we're lucky enough. Some of the best people are the ones that leave and do come back. And I'm always thankful for any time I get with you, whether it was one day or you stay here for 20 years. But thanks for your time today. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rich.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
Tell everybody where you're out of.
I am out of Arizona, so primarily, the Phoenix metro area. I'm based out of Gilbert.
Okay.
So I do a lot of business in the East Valley, helping my realtor partners mainly in the East Valley, but do loans, all over Arizona.
Now, you are licensed in other states as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, I am. I am. Currently, I'm licensed in Maryland. I've got my daughter in Maryland right now. She's in the Navy, and
Wow. All right.
yeah, so I picked up a license in Maryland. I was licensed in California and Ohio as well, and I recently, because of Xpert's platform, which I love, we've got loan officers who are licensed in every state, so we've got the ability to still kind of help out with the relationships and, let another loan officer kind of help out during the process as well, which I love.
No, I like it that you've taken advantage of that. How long have you been doing loans?
Well, so I came from my previous employer. I was there for 23 years.
Wow.
It was a local credit union here, and started off there and kind of worked my way up into, I was opening up accounts, opening up new loans, home equity loans.
Okay.
Eventually, I went into the role of processing mortgages, and I wanted to do that for I just wanted to get into mortgages. So I did that for 5 years. And then the remaining 14 years there, I was a mortgage originator. So learned a lot. I've seen a lot, the ups and downs with the market. And then for the past couple of years, I've been with you guys with Xpert.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you very much for what time we get from anybody, whether we get them for a day or for 20 years. I always just say thank you because, we truly, when I envisioned being a broker, I was like, I wonder if anybody would ever come. My first office had 12 people by the time it was done, but it started with one, became 12. And I thought that was a lot, and then my last company had 150, had 151 the day I left. And then I was very lucky. People are like, oh my gosh, why would you ever leave that? And I was like, well, 20 and 21 were incredibly busy years, but they said, we're going to raise those rates. And I'm like, ooh, I went through 2008 and that was painful being just California licensed. California takes a real hard hit usually, and real estate got hit last time in 2008. It's held value, but the refinances have dried up for the most part in comparison to purchases. But somebody's hardship always becomes somebody else's blessing. And it's sad that it has to work that way, but where people might be getting squeezed out employment wise over here, and it creates an opportunity for somebody over here to maybe become a homeowner. Um, I don't make that cycle. It's just a cycle that's always existed. But the purchase market, I've always learned there's always purchases, no matter what the rates are. My investors, they're like, they don't care what the rates are as long as the numbers work. And so I've learned not to be so much rate sensitive. And I try and use that when I talk to people because renting's 100% interest because you get nothing.
Right.
At least that's my thoughts. What do you like to do most on loans? Do you specialize in anything in particular, or do you just because of being in it so long, you just take whatever comes your way because you probably have
Yeah.
done it all?
Yeah, pretty much. I take anything that comes my way. I love doing VA loans. I love helping the
Oh, good.
veterans. It's a great loan program. I was
Hmm.
FHA specialist. Even the down payment, assistance. I'll take it. I'll take it all. I love helping everybody. And I'll treat all borrowers, whether they want to. Back in the day, I mean, we were even financing homes here in the valley for
Okay.
$50,000,
Wow.
for that's not happening anymore. But, I love to help all people and, first time buyers included and, educate them and, really help them achieve the goal of home ownership
Right
and
on.
helping everybody build wealth through real estate. Because as you said, the market, yes, the markets fluctuate, the interest rates fluctuate, but, you know, the housing prices consistently increase. So
Yeah, you throw 10 years on any housing market and typically you've done well for yourself. I'll just share with somebody. I've never had anybody say, that was the worst thing I ever did. I'm like, just add 10 years. You can rent for the next 10 years, or you could possibly build appreciation for yourself, which would be incredible. And, they hear these stories like, well, my dad, they bought their house for this and now it's worth $200,000 more. And I'm like, yeah, guess what? In 10 years, that same house will be worth another $200,000. My parents bought it for $27,000 in San Bernardino, California. Is worth like $625,000 today. And this is
exactly.
like, built in 1970 or 1965 type house. I mean, it's a house that is on a foundation, um, and time, the value will appreciate. The cost of living just keeps going up, up, and up. I'm amazed how far Arizona has changed over the years too. I mean, what an incredible uh, state that it's become to like live in. It's beautiful. You guys are probably getting some good weather out there.
It's
Um,
gorgeous.
we're going to be out there next month because we know the weather's good. We're like, where are we going to start out this year? I said, Arizona. I want to get to the warm weather. So
Yeah, you got
which
to
is
get out
awesome.
here. You got to get out here soon. It's gonna start heating up, but when that happens, we just we flock to the water. So
Yes, yes. It's one of the few states I went one time and I'm like, who are all these people? Like they're all staying in the hotel and they're like, no, no, no. They pay a resort fee and they use the pools because it's so hot. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. They're like all the resorts do it. Like it's just too hot. And then I also saw that I'm like, what's in the pools? And they're like, oh, that's a big block of ice. Like these companies will come out and drop these big blocks of ice and they just stay in the pool because it kind of keeps them cooler. And I'm like, I did not know that either. Maybe I'm in the wrong business. I want to be a block of ice person. Um, I mean, obviously you've been doing this a long time. You've probably have heard every reason not to buy, every reason not to refinance. Um, but yet, when you're in the banking side, you have their money a lot of times, so they're willing to sit down and maybe talk to you. So I imagine you've had just thousands of conversations over the years. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's sitting on the fence post trying to figure out what their next move is? You know, Maybe they're scared to make that next move. I mean, you kind of answered a little bit, but talk to me about that. You got that kind of borrower today and you're coming across and you get one chance for them. What do you say to someone like that?
I would
What do
I
you
would
say to your daughter?
I would say let's focus on the future. Let's focus on your long-term goals. Let's not look so much at what's right in front of us at the very moment because that can be scary. Let's get a plan in place and let's figure out what your goals are. Where do you want to be in 10 or 20 years and figure out from there because at the end of the day, where else, to your point, can you build can you make $200,000 in, a few years? What other kind of investment will provide, that much of a return on your money? Real estate really is the best investment to build wealth. And I would say if you're on the fence, don't focus so much on the interest rates because the interest rates are going to fluctuate and there's always refinance opportunities. Um,
Definitely.
and if you're paying rent, where's that money going? You're paying your landlord and you're building your landlord's equity and you're building wealth for your landlord. So why don't you look at building your own wealth? That would
And
be my
it's
advice to anyone.
I always tell people the hardest conversation when people I have it with them is that first one. And I always try and remind them, I'm like, what, you're not the first one to have that fear, but I've never had anybody regret it. Um, and the hardest one is the first one. You're going to feel like they are tearing you left and right because they want to know you're going to be successful as a homeowner. No one wants to set you up for failure, especially if you're putting minimal down to zero down. If it goes backwards at all, and I've had people like in 2008, like they just bought a home and they had zero down VAs or FHAs and very minimal down, and you have a 5, 10%, 20% pullback. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to go back and rent. And I'm like, no, 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 just wait, just wait. And a lot of people went back to renting. They're like, they were so frustrated. They don't have the vision to trust it. I mean, that's why we dollar cost average into retirement. It's not, you can't pick the highs and the lows of life. You just got to be in it. And I saw something the other day, Jennifer, and I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. I was talking to my wife and I said, check out what he just said, because she's like, what? I don't pay attention. I'm always watching these little videos. And he said, your goal is to have as much leverage as you can. Um, what he meant by that, like somebody gets their first house and, they sell it to take the money with them. They take all the money and they go buy the second one. It's like, gosh, if you could have held the first house, maybe took a little bit less. Now you have two houses, the same amount of overall equity is 200,000, but the overall values that you have is now from 250 is now 500. And if that goes up 5% a year, now you can get another 200 and another 200. And it starts talking about, the leverage of the overall asset. So many people will take every dime and just move it to the next one. The most you'll ever get is the growth on that one investment. That's why we diversify, into different investments in our retirement, because you don't know which area, which thing's going to go up. Yeah, it's great when you have that one year where everything goes up, but there's sometimes that a certain market technology goes up 20%, when meanwhile U.S. Treasuries are sitting at 2%. Um, Legacies are made by taking chances. I don't know how to play it safe in life anymore. You've got to take a chance on yourself. And if you're ever going to do it for anybody, why not yourself? Right? I'm not asking you to go pay somebody else's house payment. We're all good at doing that. If you ever pay rent, you're paying somebody else's mortgage and building their legacy, whether you like it or not. I mean, they
100%.
they just don't see that. And I'm like, oh, I live in this big building. Good. That's a big legacy you're leaving to somebody. But
Right.
and I also would say, Jennifer, not everybody's meant to be a homeowner. Some people I like, hey, I want to be a homeowner, and I'm like, wow, um, you can't even pay your $800 a month rent. Why would you be successful at $1,500? Oh, but it's my right to buy. And I'm like, yeah, but why don't we? Can you save the $700 a month on top of the 800 you're doing? Let's make sure it's going to work, because I have had people fail as homeowners and then they never come back and they're like, Rich, why don't you tell people that side of it too? It's not all easy. There will be bills that come with it. It's your house. You got to take care of it. Property taxes can change. Insurance, big deal. Talk to me about that in your area. I haven't asked that question in Arizona. How is insurance doing in Arizona?
It is increasing for sure. I've had some areas where I've had a hard time getting coverage, because it's kind of out in the mountains, and the carriers. I guess they're getting a little scared with all the fires and all the weather activity that's been happening around the country. But overall, I mean, you work with an insurance broker, and they're going to be able to shop around and get you good coverage for that property. I was able to find, for that particular instance recently, I was able to find really, really good coverage. So it's all about working with the right insurance reps as well.
And it sounds like you have somebody that you trust on that to be able to help with that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right on. I like
Yes.
it. That's what people understand, but dealing with somebody that has experience, a lot of times we do have a Rolodex of trusted people that have maybe been in it just as long as we have. I have an insurance broker in California that if I need insurance, I can go to that person. He can do the whole United States and he does it quickly. He knows I have a purchase on the other end. I'm like, let me just get a quote, because sometimes I see these quotes. I'm like, did you get two or three quotes here? Because this one's like a little different than what I would have thought. Because we see insurance all day long on our transactions, and then there's some just really stick out. But then that's what I'm learning. There's certain areas I'm thinking, wow, the old seller had this amount, and now that it's changing hands and it's the first time going to the new buyer, it's doubling or tripling because now they're renewing that policy for someone new. And that's where I'm getting caught off guard, because we need to know the insurance up front nowadays to make sure especially if you have a tight debt ratio.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yes.
it can make or break a transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I have had that happen recently, and the homeowner's insurance quote on it wasn't even that expensive of a property, but it came back at like $5,000, and that's a lot for here in Arizona.
That is a lot for anywhere.
We were able to get that way down, shopping around. So,
Wow.
yeah, definitely shop around for that homeowner's insurance, and have a broker in your back pocket, because they can shop around for you and make sure that, they're getting the best coverage and the best deal. Got to look at the whole picture, including the deductible.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of people, you've said it a couple times. I want people to understand what you're saying. The word broker means they're not captive to one lender. They're not captive to one insurance company like Allstate. Allstate is
right.
captive to itself. State Farm's captive to itself. And if they can't help you, people, I can't get insured. It's like, no, no, you can't get insured at State Farm. There's a lot of carriers, just like there's a lot of lenders, and each one, even the bank, maybe had its own little overlays of things they like or don't like. Some banks will portfolio some of their own, not all of them, some of their own loans because maybe they feel comfortable with it because they're using, but some of them will portfolio their own stuff. But that's what the difference of a broker is. We have 147 lenders here. Do we use them all? I haven't. I use probably about 15 of them. Um, but I know I have them, and anybody can pick anywhere they want to go because, believe it or not, on a given day, the interest rates can fluctuate not only among the lenders out there because maybe they're trying to generate more business, so they're willing to take less profits, where one lender's had a lot of business and they're trying to slow it down. And that's where a broker can look and go, wow, there's a discrepancy here. Let me take it over here. Hey, I've got that rate today. It wasn't here yesterday, but I found a separate lender that can get it done for you. Um, I tried to work at Bank of America after the crash of 2008, and I had one rate sheet. That was it.
Yeah.
It was a Bank of America rate sheet. And I was like, wow, like there was no variation. And it was the overlays, like they wanted a 680 or higher score for FHA. And I'm going, gosh, we could do these all day long in the broker world with such a lower credit score. And they're like, no, because the odds are they're going to fail. And I'm like, well, my people didn't fail. Like, there's a difference between a 500 and a 620. Back then, the 620 person, maybe they just didn't have a big or array of credit at that point in time. Maybe they were new to credit, right? So, um, give me somebody who's been 20 years of credit and they're not paying their bills. I'm a little more concerned about them than somebody who only has one account, their first credit card, and we're beating them up because they're a 620 score.
Right.
We used to be able to
Right.
do make sense underwriting and say, I'm going to take a chance on this one. We didn't have to wait for the AUS underwriting. Well, we have that too now, but it's a lot harder to get those. What do we call those? I'm drawing a blank, but basically we can have an underwriter look at something that's not getting approved, and sometimes we can still get it approved. But
Make
yes,
an
your chances
exception.
get
Yeah.
smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, I want to ask you some questions here too. Who inspired you to even start this journey? Like, back then you had all the things you could do, but you got into this, and you've been in it for a long time. You have choices, and you still do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what inspired me the most? I mean, that's a great question. I don't know if there was any one specific person who inspired me, as much as my own aspiration to be able to take charge and, um, and have my own goals and my own productivity instead of, I mean, I guess I was doing that at the branch too. I was a very
Sure.
high producer while I was at my previous employer. So I was very driven, to succeed. And yeah, I mean, real estate always was, I always wanted to get into real estate. So,
Now, have you done the
um,
real estate side too, or have you always been on the loan
no,
side?
no, I have thought about that. I thought about that too, and I thought about, getting licensed and doing both, but I just need to focus on one. Otherwise, you know, yeah, I just need to focus on one. I get distract. Let's just say I get distracted a little bit easily with, I focus.
No, that's fine. I'm with you. I have these. I'm really good at getting distracted or wanting to go. I wonder if I tried this. But I always tell people it's like I go bowling and my life has those bumpers on the side that long as I keep going down the middle, I can bounce off those because if they drop them, I'll get in the gutter all the time. But I've had a lot of bumpers and I'm able to stay in my lane and keep going that direction, even though my mind wants to take me off to different directions sometimes. Um, that's what I've gotten better at is not going 25 places. Now I got it down to about 5 now.
Yeah,
um,
exactly,
I still
exactly. And
bounce
that's
around a little
that's the
bit.
struggle for me, it's the shiny object, My husband will always joke around with me. I walk into a grocery store and say squirrel because I'm like, I'm here, there, and so it's the same thing, I mean, if you're a real estate agent, I just want to be able to, I don't want to say perfect because I need to get rid of that mindset, the perfection piece
Yeah, we
because
talked about that.
Nobody's perfect. But I want to be an expert at my role. And I believe it's
Good
hard,
word. I like it.
right? I believe it's harder to be an expert if you have dual roles like that. I want to be able to focus on my one industry and keep it, help my borrowers as best I can.
There
And
is
my
one thing that's perfect out there that I think we both would agree on, and we talked about it that we're both new grandparents,
Yes,
and my
yes.
grandkids are perfect, and yours is
Right.
probably perfect too.
Yes, she's so perfect. Yes, I love her so much.
No, it's funny.
Congratulations.
It comes you too. It's just funny. I waited my whole life to see what a little person of my kids look like, and I'm just watching every day, going, I don't know if they look like you. Like, okay, maybe it comes later. All right, now a couple months later, you start to actually see things. I'm very blessed. I have beautiful daughter-in-laws, and both children are just came out gorgeous. I mean, but that's the only word I can use is that's the one thing I'm perfect,
That's
absolutely
exactly
perfect.
what came out of my mouth as well. She's perfect.
Right
Yes.
on, right
Yeah,
on.
and
And
that's okay.
is that your daughter in Maryland?
Yes, yes.
Oh, right on, right on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and she's in the house. Boy, she got a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, recently married and grandbaby and baby, so
Okay, married, house, and grad. Whew.
yeah.
All right, we're doing a lot. My son did the same thing, just so you know. Here's a question. If I were to blindfold you and I said you can't take your book with you of all the people you know and your brokers for insurance and all that, and I'll take you and your husband together, I'll tie you up and blindfold you both. That way you can at least be together. And I just dropped you in another state. What would your day look like waking up tomorrow going, whew, I only have what I've done in the past and what's between my ears, and now I got to get that will going again. What does that look like for you? Like, how do you
Yeah, it's
start
interesting.
over and
It's
get
interesting
business?
that you say that because that's pretty much what happened. I
Oh,
did
good. Okay.
leave my entire book behind and I did not bring any contacts because
All
there was a
right.
contract and I followed the rules as I typically do
Good.
and I started from scratch. So if I were to do it all over again, if I were to pick up and let's say move to a new state, I guess it'd just be calling and popping in to open houses and I just recently rejoined the Realtor Association here in Arizona. So
Good. All
I
right.
would, join, to sponsor some classes for the realtors and, just get to know the local realtors and, partners in that area to hopefully partner up with them.
So you said something because I've never thought about that, and I hope people got something to take away from that. So you're not a realtor, but you joined the local realtor association and said that obviously allowed that. So what does that mean? It means she's going to events and rubbing shoulders with real estate
Realtors,
agents.
right? Yeah, so that is I'm not joining as a realtor, of course, because I'm not a realtor and I'm not licensed, but I'm joining as an affiliate. So
Okay.
joining as an affiliate, I can hop in there, I can sponsor classes, they do happy hours, we can do events with them. Um,
We know
and
they
yeah,
do those happy hours. We know about those.
right, right. Yeah, they do the happy hours, they do love happy hours, right?
Yes. I've been to a few of those. I went to one in Atlanta about a week ago, and it was all realtors at a real estate attorney's office. And I hadn't been to one in a while. And it started at 6, got over at like 10. And I'm thinking, oh my God, normally I'm in bed. Now I got to drive an hour home. But one of our local originators, Keisha Shannon, said, hey, let's go down there. I want to take you with me because she had already gone to one. But she was right. There was a ton of realtors in there. But here's what was amazing to me, Jennifer, is all I heard all night is, gosh, it's so hard out there. Woe is me. Man, I haven't done a deal. And I was in there and I asked somebody, I said, man, what's your day look like? You know, because it sounds like you're really struggling. What's your day look like? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, do you put 8 hours a day into getting business, or is it just so bad out there? Because I already knew the answer, but I was getting so frustrated because I'm like, gosh, I wouldn't want to work with you either because you're so down. Like, you're bringing me down. The energy's down. I know it's tough out there because I've got 600 plus people that tell me every day, and they have two, three, four, five realtors on top of it. Um, but you got to be the light at the end of the tunnel and the positivity and bring, even the smallest glimmer of hope. And here's some hope for you. Last September, the rates kind of dropped a little bit. We had our biggest month in history of being open for expert home lending. The rates didn't follow. There were no more rate cuts, so they kind of creep back up. Quickly dead and done. But then something happened. January 1st, it took off again. They haven't lowered the rates, but something took off. January became our second biggest month behind September. February comes back to back months. February becomes our second biggest month. January, our third biggest month. Now, March, 3 months in a row, might be our biggest month overall. I have not seen that in the 3 years and 1 month we've been open, that much momentum, and it started early this year. Normally it's not till spring. So January 1st it took off. And that's what you guys need to know, because I get to see a whole national measurement, and you might just be seeing your own little area or your own pipeline going, where's all the loans? But that's the one thing I want to get back out in front of you guys and meet with you once a week, just to say, have a power hour and share those measurements to go, something's going on. And I just had a guy, he did 15 loans for the whole year last year. He called me and said, Rich, I did five I'm going to do five this month in the month of March in New Mexico. I've never done 5 deals in a month. And I'm like, man, that's 1/3 of your whole year last year. He goes, no, something's, and I hadn't even said that. He's like, something's going on. All the people I've been kind of working with and networking with, it's like they're all kind of starting to call back. And I'm hearing that echoing across a lot of platforms. And so my challenge to you is, if your pipeline has been slow, stay with what you're doing, because that resilience, it's something's going on out there. And eventually they might even throw a rate cut on top of it, but people don't realize rates can come down naturally too if people start flocking back in and buying treasuries and the bonds get affected, things like that. We don't have to wait for the rate cuts. That's just a very direct way of bringing everything down quicker. But I wanted to share that with you. I want to make sure that you also knew that, because I know you're going day to day, month to month, like we are all doing right now in this market. You
Yeah.
brought your husband up. What does your husband do?
He's a financial advisor. He's
Whoa,
with a
built-in
local.
referral partner.
Yeah, he's with a local credit union, actually, where I came from as well. We met
Okay.
there, and yeah, he uses Raymond James as their investment partner there. So yeah, he's been doing that for years and years. So he's busy. He puts in his full hours, and I put in my full hours, and we're just.
No, that's cool. I mean, I don't. That's very powerful, because the conversations, because he probably sees stuff in the market too, and he sees sentiment and people's fears and things like that. And then you have it on your side, but you guys, that's a different kind of conversation. Because I know my financial advisors that I work with, we have different kind of conversations about the economy, and they sometimes point stuff out to me that they have matrices that I don't even see, and I'm like going, wow, I didn't even know that. So I think that's awesome. What's his name, by the way?
Yeah, his name is Timothy Clemens.
Timothy. You just got on our video. Congratulations. All right. I know I'm dragging you in through all this stuff. I want to ask you, and you can answer it or not. What's a weird or unexpected fact about you that most people don't know?
Weird or unexpected fact? Weird.
There's no right or wrong answer. Or you can
Yeah.
answer it this one: what's the wildest thing that has ever happened to you? I mean, so you can kind of go either way with that one.
Well, last year I mentioned earlier I had a. I don't think I'm old, right? But when I say it, I sure do feel old. I had a slip and fall accident and I shattered my kneecap.
Well,
pretty
you
bad.
said that.
So
Ouch.
that was the, one of the, it was worse. It was the worst pain that I'd experienced in my life after surgery. So it was a 4.5 hour surgery. So, and just coming back after that, has been a challenge and rewarding at the same time. So, loving to get out there and hike again, and get my strength back. And although that's not really weird, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
No, I
Um,
mean that a lot of people when they get faced with that kind of a hardship, I mean that kind of shuts you down for a little bit because you're not going to be in the right mind. You're going to be doing pain. You might have pain management. You might have a lot of things. Well, and you kind of leaned on this. How about something easier to answer? When you're not in loan mode, when you're not trying to get realtors, when you're not trying to get that next transaction, what kind of hobbies do you and Timothy like to do?
yeah. So we are a little different in that aspect. I love to get out there. I love to be outdoors. I love to paddleboard. I love
Okay.
to, be on the lake or the river, whenever I can, or hiking with my dogs.
All right.
And I love for him to come out with me every once in a while, and sometimes he does. And travel, we love to travel. Our travel though has been revolving around our daughters, and she, joined, but luckily she was stationed in Hawaii. So a few trips to
Well,
Hawaii
that's a
over the
hard one.
past 4 years, and yeah, and some Maryland trips as well. So
Well, she
um,
went West Coast to East Coast big time on that
she
one.
did, yeah, yeah, she did, and now she's back in Maryland. So she
Okay.
started in Maryland, Hawaii, she's back in Maryland. So,
Right on.
yeah, Hawaii's been fun. That was some fun times with a free place to stay while we're there. It was always nice. But
Definitely.
yeah, I love to travel, love to try new restaurants. Hanging out with my family and my friends, and just getting out there. My neighbors across the street have pulled me in for pickleball, so I've been playing
Okay.
pickleball lately too. I like that.
Well, it sounds like the knee must be doing pretty good if you're playing pickleball.
And it's doing a lot better now. Yes.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that. Hey, I've hit you with a lot of questions. And by chance, do you have any questions for me? Anything I can answer about myself, my family, my life, expert? I mean, I'll answer anything you can throw at me. I have no shame in my game.
Yeah, no, we talked for a little bit. I just I love Xpert. I love the platform. And you mentioned that I left for a minute and I came back, within probably 30 days. Um, and I
That is
just
fast.
yeah, I love the platform. I love your messages and the support that you guys have. I'm pretty self-sufficient. I don't reach out, a ton for assistance or anything like that, but you guys are
Yeah,
there
prior
for
to
me.
today, we hadn't spoke. I don't think.
Right. Yeah, we haven't. This is the first time that we've actually met. So, um yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you've built here, and I appreciate all that you've done, um and Nate, everybody here has been amazing.
I want to point something out because Jennifer was uncomfortable with doing this today. And part of what we were talking about is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Um, I wish life always stayed the same. I wish everything was like 20 and 21. I wish this and that and that. But it's not. It always changes. The guidelines change. The economy changes. They tighten up the lending guidelines. They loosen them back up. And the only thing you can do, uh, for example, there was at the end of 2021, 423 or something thousand licensees. Just recently, they updated that. There's like less than 93,000 remaining licensees
I
nationwide.
did not know that.
Less than 28% of licensed real estate agents did one transaction last year. I get it, but when you get to pick who you work with, and you have somebody just said that they've been doing it 20, 25, 30 years, there's a reason they've been doing it so long, and there is something that goes with calm and experience, and there's a reason why people come to those people. It's not by chance. It's because they've been leveraged, they've been pushed, pulled, they've seen so much. And I would challenge you, if you're trying to work with somebody that's knowledgeable, especially if you're in the Arizona or Maryland area, soon to be California area, um, don't be afraid to reach out to Jennifer. Give her a call. I'm going to put all of her contact information in here. Uh, maybe you're thinking about what's this expert home lending place? She left and she came back. I need to hear about that. I mean, who comes back to anywhere? Well, maybe you want to talk to her about that. But my challenge to you as a realtor, my challenge to you as a loan originator, my challenge to you as a borrower, your transaction can be made or broken. Don't assume that, oh, I can get a loan, so anybody can do that loan. Sometimes we make it look easier than it is because of that experience. And then you get outside the circle and someone says, well, I can give you a little better rate. And then you're like, gosh, this experience is horrible. And they give us a bad name because they just assume it all was going to be pulling teeth. But yet someone like Jennifer can make it to where it's not so painful. Um, so I appreciate you coming on today. I know this isn't the easiest thing to do. I know you're busy. I know you have stuff going on. I know the sun's coming up and you got pickleball waiting for you right after. No, I'm kidding.
I wish.
But I want to say thank you so much. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for your partnership. Thanks for making Xpert look so good. It's you are the platform, not us. It is a partnership. My job is to you're my person. The borrowers are yours. My job is to help you, assist you, make you look good, make your realtors look good, so that they'll keep coming back because I know where those loans are coming from. I know who's on that front line, you and your realtors out there, and I know how it works with your family time. I know how it's with your personal time because I do it too. And it's not easy what we do, especially in this market. We do get those markets where sometimes it is, but believe me, 90% of the time, it's not easy.
Yeah,
And
it's a little gray here, here and there.
you can look at that beard. I'm past gray. I'm getting into white now. I'm like, oh my goodness. But Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Like we say as we're closing up with Jennifer Clemens out of Arizona, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your time. And we always give the mortgage baller salute when we say, stay thirsty, my friends. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All
All right, take care.
right. You too. Bye bye.